right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Monday, January 30th. Fuck it. Oh, F it. It's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton.
I'm Pat. We're here for the kids. The kids, of course, who are following us for this historic Puss in Boots, The Last Wish run. So we're trying to keep it clean.
I'll beep
And
it.
yeah, bleep it or bleep it. That's the way to go. So Clayton, uh, it was a I would say it was a wild weekend at the box office. Maybe not at the top of the box office this week, but it was a wild weekend in the middle and the bottom of the box office. A lot of new stuff, a lot of expansions and concert films and Fathom events and indie horror. There's a lot going on here that we're going to have to make sense of. So would you want to plow to 10?
Oh, I am way ahead of you, sir.
Great. So
Let's
if you
start
could
with
give us a plow for the weekend of Friday, January 27th.
number one. For the seventh weekend in a row, Avatar The Way of Water made $15.9 million, down 21%. It lost 190 theaters. It's at $620.8 million. Number two, holding strong, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish, made $10.4 million, a drop of only 11%. It lost 159 theaters. It is at $140.7 million in its sixth weekend. Number three, I'm trying to get it correct. Hold on, because we got an email that gives us it.
Pathaan.
PATHAAN made $6.8 million in only 695 theaters. Its total gross is $9.4 million, and this is its first weekend of wide release. Number four, A Man Called Otto made $6.6 million, down 24%. It actually added 155 theaters. It's at $45.9 million in its fifth weekend. Number five, Megan made $6.2 million, down 36%. It lost 212 theaters. It's at $82.1 million in its fourth weekend. Number six, Missing made $5.6 million, down 38%. No theater change, and it's at $17.5 million in its second weekend. Number seven, Plane made $3.8 million, down 28%. It lost 208 theaters. It's at a tidy $25.3 million in its third weekend. Number eight, A Newbie, The Wandering Earth 2, made $3 million in 142 theaters, and this is its second weekend of release. Number nine, A Newbie, Left Behind, Rise of the Antichrist, a Fathom event, made $2.5 million. It's at $3.1 million. This is all in its first weekend. Number 10, Infinity Pool, made $2.5 million in its first weekend. And let's keep going because number 11, Billie Eilish Live at the O2 Extended Cut made $1.2 million in 596 theaters. Number 12, an indie horror movie, Fear, made $1.2 million in 974 theaters in its first weekend. So, Pat, we've got a lot of movies
Wow.
that down here at the bottom making $1, $2, $3 million, and they're taking advantage of a pretty, I don't want to say slow box office because box office is booming, but slow new release schedule.
Yes, slow, big studio releases. This almost felt like a clearance sale, like a going out of business sale,
Yes.
for movies. That it's like, all right, next week we've got a this huge superstore is moving into the location. It's going to be a Macy's, I don't know, or something like that, with a store that everyone loves, that they're excited about. But the store that was sitting there, the old 99-cent store, they got to get everything off the shelves. You're going in and you're picking the shelves and you're finding a Fear, you're finding a Billie Eilish concert film, you're finding a Wandering Earth sequel, Left Behind. So that's
Yes.
what it felt like. Like everything's got to go because next week there's a whole new store here.
Now, just to clarify something, I think I made a little bit of a mistake here. The
Okay.
Wandering Earth 2, I said was a newbie. It actually, like I said in the rundown, it's its second weekend.
Okay.
And then the film uh
Pathan.
Pathan,
Yes.
it's this weekend was 6.8, and its entire gross right now is 9.4. So I'm assuming that it had some showings in the middle of the week.
Yeah, it must have been a Wednesday opening movie. So we'll get to
Yeah.
that movie because we've got an email, a boots on the ground report about Pathan. So we'll
Oh
get to
yeah.
that. I just want to start at some of these newbies at the bottom here. I mean, Fear is an interesting one because it comes from a sort of auteur. This guy, Dion Taylor, he's a
Hmm.
director who people may know because he has directed big studio-ish movies like The Intruder with Dennis Quaid. He did that movie Black and Blue that had Frank Grillo and Tyrese in it a couple of years ago. But he's also, I would say, best known for making the Meet the Blacks movies, which
Hmm.
I, I have you seen a Meet the Blacks film, Clayton?
I have not. The first one came out all the way back in 2016,
Yes, yes.
and it made $9 million all in, and it was a parody of The Purge, correct?
Yes, it was what if the Purge had Mike Epps and Charlie Murphy in it?
Hmm.
That's what it appears to be. Though what I've heard about these movies is, and Mike Tyson is in it. And yeah, those seem to be the big selling points is Mike Epps, Charlie Murphy, Mike Tyson, and George Lopez is in this film. And these are indie horror comedies. Snoop
Hmm.
Dogg was in this film. And there was a sequel that came out in 2021. So he made a Meet the
Yes.
Blacks sequel. So this filmmaker, Dion Taylor, um, he's I don't know if he's self-funding these, but he seems to have some financiers
Hmm.
and they make these tidy indie movies. This is where I think he shines, not so much in the Black and Blues and the Intruder studio type films. He shines in these Meet the Blacks and these Fears, these movies that are made under the radar
Hmm.
and they open number 12, but the number 12 at 1.2 million probably was everything they hoped it would be. I can't
Oh
imagine
yeah.
Dion Taylor's Fear was expected by anyone, by any of the financiers, to do much better than 1.2 million opening weekend.
I think for a small budget movie with no real advertising that I know of, I mean, this
Mm-hmm.
may not have been targeted towards us,
Right,
although
right.
we do like our horror.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
to make anything over a million at the box office, I think is a success.
Yes, and it seems like to me, and again, this we could be totally off base, and all of these people are stars in a certain to a certain audience, but Ti playing the character Lou is the name that I'm most familiar with in this
Yes,
cast.
the
So if you
rapper
have,
Ti.
so I think in 2023, if if the rapper Ti is the big name of the film and the film makes 1.2 million dollars, it probably overperformed.
Yes, Ti is not necessarily in the zeitgeist the way he was in years past.
Yes,
I
yes.
mean,
If
not for positive things. I do think there is some controversy involving Ti that we won't get into because it doesn't really matter. But I'm saying as like a as a recording artist, his
right.
popularity is not as it's at its peak.
No, this it's not 2007. If this movie came out in 2007, 2008 and you had Ti in it, you're probably hoping for a top 5 finish. 2023, I think Dion Taylor's Fear I'm sure it did well, and it will only help the eventual streaming numbers
Well,
on your
that's the thing.
Tubi, on your Freevee, on your IMDb
Well,
Plus.
here's the thing, Pat. I don't know. This is a production. This is a distributor called Hidden Empire, I believe, is
Mm-hmm.
what it's saying on the
Yes.
numbers. I don't know what streaming venue this will end up on. I mean, you mentioned Tubi. Tubi might be a good place for it to land. But guess what? If this thing ends up in my feed,
Mm-hmm.
on my Fire Stick, it says, "Hey, Fear's out. It's on
Yes.
Tubi. Do you want to watch it?" I'm gonna take a peek at it because
Mm-hmm.
it made 1.2 million at the box office, and it
Exactly.
was released in theaters. That's
Ex-
huge.
exactly. Exactly. So I mean that is a win for Dion Taylor, for Hidden Empire, for the film Fear when it eventually lands on Tubi. There's a Billie Eilish, like you said, concert film that came in
Hmm.
number 11, made 1.29 million. It's called Billie Eilish Live at the O2 extended cut. So I'm guessing the O2 is the O2 Arena in London,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
I would guess that. So big stadium show. And I guess it shows Billie Eilish is one spot higher than T.I. in 2023. T.I. came in number 12, Billie Eilish came in at number 11. So I think, this is not a music show, but I think that gives you an idea of who the big stars are in music these days relative to one another.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know much about this concert film. I mean, here's the thing: 1.2 million in 596 theaters. So people like Billie Eilish.
Right, right. It is not. What are some of the big concert films that we've had in the last few years of pop stars?
Well, I mean, God, because that's so long. I was going to mention the
Has
Justin
Manu
Bieber one that was a huge hit, but that was years ago. You know what? The one that was a very big one was the K-pop stars,
Yes,
and their name is escaping me at the moment.
yes,
And
yes,
we're going to
yes.
get inundated with K-pop, the K-pop army to let us know how dumb we are for forgetting these gentlemen.
It
BTS,
BTS,
BTS.
of course, BTS. Yes,
BTS had I think they had a pretty nice uh, grossing one that I'm
yes,
trying to look up at the moment.
yeah. I think they
Permission to
may.
Dance was one that came out in March of 2022, and it
Mm-hmm.
made $6.8 million.
Yes, so about almost 5 or 6 times the amount that this Billie Eilish film made, which I think makes sense because with these concert films, if you could play to an audience, it seems to me that the audience is really going to respond if the artist is playing to a young female audience, which I would assume Billie Eilish is too, but
Oh
in the
yeah,
way
I
that
think so.
BTS or Justin Bieber were heartthrobs or are heartthrobs to a young female audience. That's usually the way you're going to get some good money out of these concert films.
Hmm.
Um,
What do we
so,
think here of number 10, Infinity Pool, which is the Brendan Cronenberg film starring Mia Goth,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
our
I,
beloved Pearl?
I will say it feels like a slight disappointment, slightly just based on Mia Goth, I think having had a big year that really upped her profile. She had X, she had Pearl. Both those movies did pretty well. And she had some weird, sort of groundswell Oscar buzz around her. Like she was someone who was moving a little bit into mainstream consciousness. So I would have thought she could have, especially on such a sleepy weekend, propelled Infinity Pool closer to like $4 million.
Well,
So,
Pearl only opened to 3.1,
mm-hmm,
and I don't think, I mean, she was not the center of this
that's true.
trailer. I mean, she was shown briefly in this trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think if you didn't see this trailer and you didn't look up the cast list, you probably didn't know she was in this film.
I mean, her name. There's definitely a part of the trailer where the stars of the movie's names appear, and
Well, I'm
she
saying
and
you,
hers
if
is
you
in it.
didn't see this
If
trailer,
you didn't see
then
the trailer, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I don't know if this is necessarily a huge disappointment. I don't know if this. I don't remember what I said last
The
weekend.
margins on something like this are so small. Infinity
Yeah,
Pool, it was never going to open. Like, a success would have been, wow, this made 4.6 million,
exactly.
and instead it made 2.5. It
And
was
didn't
always
we
going to
say
be
this
low.
thing would make around two something?
We
I
may
don't.
have. I mean, Thursday is so long ago
It
at
was
this
so long
point.
ago, but
So
so
many
long
movies have
ago.
come out since we made these predictions. I think the Cronenberg name is big with a very small audience, and
Hmm.
is something of a turnoff to the majority of a film going audience. You know,
Okay.
I think that the name Cronenberg will get a certain group of sickos in, which include us.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
almost went to see this film. We want to see this film.
of course.
But I think that name is equally a stay away warning for most people who would go to a multiplex, as
Yes.
opposed to if Infinity Pool was a new film from Phil Stevens, whoever. It's a fake name. There's not a director named Phil Stevens. Maybe
There
does
probably
Porno.
is,
There
but
probably is. There's so many
not
movies.
one of note.
But I think if that was Infinity Pool, same movie, and it just didn't have a Cronenberg name on it, it may have. I don't know if it. Well, it's tough to say, but it's his name definitely. I think it brings something with it that maybe turns off some percentage of moviegoers.
Well, you're talking about his father, not necessarily him, because he
Oh,
doesn't have the legacy
but
that his father has.
the
But you
name is
just think in
Cronenberg.
general.
Yeah, oh yeah, the name is Cronenberg. I think most people aren't investigating further past that name.
So you're thinking the new flesh doesn't fall far from the old flesh
No,
when it comes to the Cronenberg name. So they're just going to assume, oh well, Cronenberg's son is not going to be doing rom coms.
right. It's a big
Infinity
flesh
Pool is
tree.
not about J Lo and um
Josh Duhamel.
Josh. Well, I mean, yeah, Shotgun Wedding. It's not. I
You're
mean, it's
thinking
not.
Shotgun Wedding.
It's not. Yeah, take place at a high class hotel where she is the concierge and he's the richest man to ever come to the hotel, and
Right.
they fall in love in an infinity pool. Like that's
Right.
not what this movie is.
That's not what this movie is. No.
Yeah.
We haven't seen the movie, so we actually also don't know exactly what it is. Um, this movie, I think what's interesting about it to me too is number 10 is Cronenberg's Infinity Pool. Number 9 is Left Behind, Rise of the Antichrist, a Fathom event, a new Left Behind movie. And they both basically made almost exactly the same amount of money.
Yeah, there was less
2.5
than
million.
40 grand.
Yeah. So you're talking about, like one or two church buses got them over the hump past Infinity Pool. It's very interesting that these two movies made almost the exact amount of money. It really does show you the battle between the light and the dark. If Left
Hmm.
Behind is supposed to be the light and Infinity Pool's the dark, that battle is neck and neck, at the box office.
Oh
The
yeah, that battle is by no means anything but hotly contested still after all
Yeah,
these years, after all these eons, if you will,
yeah,
depending on how long you think the Earth actually existed.
right. And it depends based on whether you went to see Left Behind or if you went to see Infinity Pool. One group thinks it's since Jesus or whatever, and then one group thinks that it doesn't exist and it's all in the mind of a rock or something like that.
What is your take? Is it like Jesus or whatever, or the Rock thing, or you're just
I haven't seen either of these films yet, so
oh, these will be the deciding factor in your belief system?
I think so. I think at this point it's time for me to make a decision, and these are the movies that came out this week. So I think I should see Left Behind, I should see Infinity Pool, and finally go one way or the other on my
You may
belief
not be able to
system.
see Left Behind in the theater because it's a Fathom event, and I think it was only available for a few days.
And this showing that it had here, that it's per theater average $1,800. I don't know if that's going to warrant a extension on the
No,
Fathom event.
no,
This
this
is
is
not
not a chosen situation.
exactly. Left Behind didn't open up number 3. and have a $5,000 per screen, and then they're like, we got to extend it, Jesus wins. Jesus and Infinity Pool, dead heat here.
So Left Behind, we can look at if we're using, musical acts here, because you
Hmm.
mentioned Billie Eilish and T.I. Left Behind is looking like New Kids on the Block, and The Chosen is looking like your Backstreet Boys and your NSYNCs, right? Like when they
Yes.
kind of took over, they were the literal New Kids on the Block that kind of made New Kids on the Block look like old hat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the performance of this Left Behind Rise of the Antichrist, it is not great for the career of Kevin Sorbo. It's not great for him as a star within the underground Christian Fathom event films, because yeah, he's now fallen behind the stars of The Chosen, and I think you're going to start to see these cast members of The Chosen series that are being released in theaters. They're probably going to start getting cast in a lot of the parts that Kevin Sorbo used to, make his bones on. I
Hmm.
think Kevin Sorbo's probably got a high price tag when it comes to these Christian movies, and he's no longer the box office draw that he once was, back in the Gods Not Dead days. And I think those chosen cast members, they're sitting pretty now, and they're going to be able to steal prime roles like the role of Rayford Steele, which is what Kevin Sorbo plays in Left Behind: Rise of the Antichrist. He might not be the first choice, especially again with his high price tag.
That's I mean, I bet you Sorbo's asking for a lot.
Yeah.
Money
Yeah.
wise, but also attention wise.
Exactly. Exactly. And listen, it's not 2014 anymore.
No.
2014, Kevin Sorbo starred in God's Not Dead. That film made $60 million at the domestic box office. We're in 2023. Left Behind: Rise of the Antichrist just opened to 2.5 million. Dead heat with a Baby Cronenberg film. Kevin Sorbo, you're gonna have to bring down that quote, or I think you might be out of the Christian Fathom event films game.
Yeah, I mean the ball is in his court,
Right,
definitely.
right, right.
Now, speaking of a great big ball,
Mm-hmm.
Earth,
Yep.
big blue marble. Number 8, The Wandering Earth 2 made $3 million in only 142 theaters. And Pat, I want you to peep this per theater.
Per
Per
theater. Uh,
theater. Per per theater average here. 21,000
yep.
per
Yep.
theater.
Yep. On only
How crazy
140.
is that?
I mean, that,
I was so incredulous halfway through I couldn't believe it.
yeah, it's insane, this movie's per theater average. Wandering Earth 2, $21,000 per theater, by far the highest per theater
Oh
average
geez.
at the box office last weekend. There's nothing, I'm scanning down, there's nothing even close to that. I mean, for comparison, the number one movie, Avatar: Way of Water, of course, in its seventh week, only did $4,000 per theater.
Hmm.
Wandering Earth did 21,000. So that's the kind of per theater average that keeps us and when I say small release, is a movie that's probably made $1 billion already worldwide, but keeps a small domestic release like this in theaters a long time. It's good. This is the type of movie that's going to keep those bookings at the domestic theaters, maybe get an expansion.
Yeah.
Again, the type of per screen average that Kevin Sorbo was not able to put up with his new Left Behind: Rise of the Antichrist movie.
Now, Wandering
Not to
Earth.
be too hard on Kevin Sorbo. Sorry
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah. I
Not
think we
to.
need to lay off on him a little bit
Yeah,
here.
he's having a tough time. He's going to have to lower his quote,
Yeah.
so we
It's
don't want to
always a
pile
sad
on.
day when you have to lower your quote,
Yes,
Pat.
yes,
So we shouldn't bash the guy. It's
yeah,
it's not He's not in a good place right now.
Right, right.
And we don't want to teach kids that it's okay to kick a man while they're down.
Yes, yes. Do not kick a man when he has to lower his quote.
Hmm.
Not on that day.
Now, this movie, Wandering Earth 2, has already made at the worldwide box office, well, international box office, 355.5 million,
Okay.
and then worldwide 358, because that's where that 3 million that the American box office or the North American domestic box office gave it.
Mm-hmm.
This is I haven't seen the first one. The first one was a big hit on Netflix, I remember,
Well, the first movie,
over
the first
here.
Wandering Earth, made internationally made $695 million and then another 5.8 million in the US. So the
Yeah.
first movie made over $700 million total worldwide.
Oh, it was a huge hit, but I think most people saw it here
Yes.
on Netflix,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So it got that Netflix reverse bump in the sense that the people who saw it on Netflix now inspired them to go see in the theater this time because it made 3 million domestic this weekend. So it's only 2 million away from making what it made domestically its whole run the first time. So I think Netflix has definitely created Wandering Earth fans here in the United States.
Now, is it available on Netflix at the moment, or is that where it's going to end up?
I would assume that's going to be where it's going to end up, though. I guess, it's not a Netflix production, so they very well could have sold the streaming rights to a different streamer this
Oh
time.
yeah,
Wandering
bidding
Earth,
war.
Wandering Earth 2 could end up on Netflix, but it could end up on the cock. It could end up on Peacock,
Yeah.
and it could end up on Tubi with Deion Taylor's Fear. We don't know for sure.
Well, the distributor is Well Go USA,
Okay. Yeah,
and I'm not really sure what else they've done.
I'm not seeing a announced streaming release for Wandering Earth 2. So listen, which is smart. They should announce it now. Get people in the United States
Yes,
to
of
have to go
course.
see in the movie theater.
Yes.
And at $21,000 per theater, get it in more movie theaters.
Yes.
That's what you got to do. You got to expand Wandering Earth, and you got to take some screens away from Kevin Sorbo and Left Behind: Rise of the Antichrist.
So let's jump all the way up to number 3.
Let's do it. It's time.
PATHAAN.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is a movie that came out of left field for us.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't talk about it in our preview episode.
We did, and it was a blind spot.
This is one of those Bollywood movies that
Mm-hmm.
came out of quote unquote nowhere. It obviously didn't come out of nowhere because there's plenty of people who
Right.
were anxious to see this movie, who were excited to see this movie and saw this movie. And
Yes.
one of these people was one of BO boy Eric, who
Mm-hmm.
sent us an email with the title "Pathan is sick AF." Thank you, Eric, for thinking about the kids.
Yep.
Pathan, and he gave us the how to pronounce it, which we thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you, Eric.
You
Thank you.
he knows I'm a mushmouth, and even that help didn't help me as much as it should. But that's on me, not on you, Eric. Keep sending us pronunciations. Now, Pathan had only barely been on my radar. The poster looked like a Marvel knockoff, and I don't go to most of the Indian blockbusters. But when it got a recommendation from one of my most trusted online sources, I'm not going to name this online source because, listen, Eric, we trust you. We trust you. We don't know this gentleman, so I'm not going to advocate for this gentleman. Does that sound okay for you, Pat?
That sounds fine.
Right. I made plans to see it. I was one of 2 Caucasian viewers in this screening at a local Regal on Friday. As the movie pre-show and trailers played, I kept seeing more and more viewers enter until what I assumed was full capacity. Then somehow even more people kept coming in. I forgot the feeling of being in a completely packed, excited screening. This was my first packed house Indian movie, and when megastar SRK first entered the screen, I thought there was an applause track playing from the movie. But no, this screening was just that nuts. Turns out this is SRK's first film after a 4-year hiatus, and it wasn't just hype. Every cheer and whistle was earned. This movie is pure energy from start to finish. Don't sleep on Pathaan, and don't underestimate the king, Shah Rukh Khan. As I write this, it's Saturday, and I'm going to see it again in an hour. Wow, what an exciting email.
Wow. 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 Thank you, Eric, for that email, for the tip, for the boots on the ground, and for the pronunciation. Yeah, I mean, this sounds real exciting.
Mm-hmm.
This
It's
sounds
giving me
like
RRR like feelings here.
yes, yes, a film that I finally did see about a week or two ago,
And you
and
loved.
loved it. Loved it. The I get the hype, and yeah, that makes me want to see something like Pathan because the energy in that movie, and apparently, according to Eric, the energy in this movie sounds like exactly what you want on the big screen. These big Bollywood movies are the type of movies that sell popcorn. You know, it's a
Yes.
type of movie that makes you want to sit in a big screen and eat those Mike and Ikes. And that is
Mm,
the number one job of any filmmaker. And it sounds like Pathan does that. I mean, what I love about what I'm hearing about Pathan is that it marks the return of a superstar. You
love
know,
it.
Deadline had an article from Nancy Tartaglione is the name of
Mhm.
the writer of this article, and she said Indian superstar Shah Rukh Khan is back in a big way. 4-year hiatus, like Eric also said, and it really goes to show the power of a movie star keeping themselves special. A
Yep.
movie star taking a little break once in a while, giving everyone a breather, making people anticipate their comeback. And I think, listen, Kevin Zorbo may be our newest whipping boy, but our number one whipping boy of the last few months, of course, is Dwayne the Rock Johnson, deservedly. And he should take a lesson from Shah Rukh Khan.
Yes. Go
Dwayne,
away for 4 years.
go away for 4 years, take a lengthy hiatus. You got to come back with something good,
Mm-hmm.
something as good as Pathan, you know. And I don't know if Dwayne the Rock Johnson is capable of that, but if he were to take 4 years off, find his Pathan, come back with something where there's singing and there's dancing and there's action that makes people clap, then he would be celebrated because people will have been hungry for his comeback, but he just doesn't go away. But this superstar Shah Rukh Khan went away for 4 years, and now he's obviously bigger than ever, and I love to see that.
Yes. Love to see it. And this movie looks like it came out on Wednesday, so it's already at 9.4. I mean, we've got one big movie coming out this coming weekend,
Mm-hmm.
the Knock at the Cabin Door, but I don't think it's going to really eat into Pathan's numbers because I do think that this coming in at number three
Mm-hmm.
because it went up the charts. I mean, it was for a while there, it looked like it was going to be number five this weekend. Then it kept moving up. Now it's number three. It beat
Mm-hmm.
out Missing. It beat out Megan. It beat out A Man Called Otto.
Yep, Man Called Otto had that number 3 crown as of Sunday morning. If we had
Mm-hmm.
done this show last night, we would have been announcing Pathan at 5 or 6, you know,
Yeah.
and we waited till the final numbers were in, and we could accurately say Pathan is number 3. But it was a photo finish this weekend.
Yeah, Pathan. I mean, listen, Hanks is a huge star over here.
Yep.
And Shah Rukh Khan, stomped him out a little bit.
Yep. I mean, listen, it's the 5th weekend of A Man Called Otto, first weekend here of Pathan.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to say Shah Rukh Khan is the new Tom Hanks. I don't think we should go that far.
No, no.
But you know what? Amongst global superstars like that, I'm sure they probably have each other's phone numbers. They probably texted. Oh,
Oh,
looks
Hanks
like
gave him a call, I think, and was like, Way to go, buddy.
Do you think there was a concession call like there is at the night of an election? Do you think Sunday night, Monday morning, these final numbers came in and Tom Hanks gave a call to Shah Rukh Khan and said, I concede you are number 3 at the
Yeah.
weekend box office?
I think Hanks did it. I mean, I think he's that kind of guy.
Yep.
I also think that his movie's already doing well. It added theaters, so it's not
Yep.
like this thing is getting extinguished by competition. It's
Right.
just rolling.
I mean, let's talk about this Man Called Otto. It is, like you said, number 4. It almost got up to number 3, which is a great sign, because the last weekend A Man Called Otto was number 5. So this is a movie that is clearly on the rise. It only dropped 24%. It added theaters, like you said. It's now at 45.9, so basically $46 million. This is a movie where now 50 million is a slam doink. We could see it get to 60 million domestic.
Oh, so here's the thing I was going to say. I'm sorry. We do have another movie coming out this next weekend, 80 for Brady.
Yes, we'll talk about that on our weekend
But
preview
it
episode.
is aiming for the same audience as A Man Called Otto.
Yes.
But what I will say, and not giving anything away for the preview, I think A Man Called Otto is still going to continue to bring in the people that don't normally go to the theaters as much, don't go the first weekend, have to be kind of either schedule their time out or really coaxed into going.
Right.
And you're seeing with the added screens here and these small drops that this is a movie that's just going to have legs. It already does. I mean, it already officially has legs, but it's going to continue to have legs because even its competition isn't going to dent it. And the other movies that are coming out are not going to cross over as much with it to give it any sort of competition.
No, I mean, I do. Yeah, 80 for Brady could bite in a little bit, but I think Man Called Otto is clearly already a success. And, I think we're looking at possibly it could get to Ticket to Paradise level. Possibly, Ticket to Paradise ended up at 68 million. That would be an incredible final landing place for this Man Called Otto. He's at 45.9 after 5 weeks, and Ticket to Paradise after its 5th week was already at 61. So, it definitely had, it's still pacing behind Ticket to Paradise at the same point.
But Pat, these weekends are counting its limited release weekends, so you can't. It's not an even playing field.
That's true. So you almost have to look at where Ticket to Paradise was in its 4th weekend, which was 56 million. So it's closer. You're right, and definitely Man Called Otto is holding really well. It's just, I think, a testament to Tom Hanks has. He's listen, no one could continue the run that he had in the 90s and all the way through the early 2000s, but he is clearly still a gigantic movie star, and his audience will continue to follow him for as long as they can.
Now, before we get to the number 1 and number 2,
okay,
quickly, because we talked about this movie a lot.
Quickly,
number 5, Megan. It's now at 82.1.
Yep.
We were having this bet or this conversation as to whether it's going to beat Smile.
Yes.
And I think you said that it wouldn't.
I did say I think it would come a little short. Yes.
And I was more bullish on it.
Yes.
I now believe that it can't.
Well,
and the reason for it is just because Cabin is showing up.
Yeah.
I mean, that knock is happening next weekend. It's inevitably going to end up on the cock. And I think that is going to make it fall short. This is going to be a success. By no means is it a failure. It's not going to
Megan's a mega hit.
Yeah, it's not going to pass Smile, which is a little disappointing because I think it's a better movie than Smile. But that doesn't really matter at the end of the day. but now I have changed my tune. I do believe it is going to fall short of Smile.
I mean, the math is making it seem that way. After 4 weekends, Smile had gotten to $84 million, and now after its fourth weekend, Megan is at 82 million. You said The Knock is coming,
Mm-hmm.
and like we talked about last week, Smile had its run in October.
Yes,
In the prime,
Shocktober.
in the Shocktober, the prime scary movie season. Megan is listen, Megan is doing amazing. It's probably going to be more. I think it passes Black Phone. I think it gets
Mm-hmm.
to high 90s, which again is incredible. But I don't think it gets to that 100 and whatever it is, 2 million that Smile got
And
to.
Megan never got the PLFs, so
Megan never got the
never
PLFs.
got to
Yes.
see her dance on an IMAX screen or a Screen X or even a Dolby.
Yes. Yes.
Unfortunately,
I do assume that Wandering Earth 2 did get a bunch of PLFs this weekend in those.
I think it did. It must have gotten some IMAXs and things.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's like a specific town somewhere where Billie Eilish live maybe got an IMAX. There's some of these in like limited release movies. Listen, there's probably a city somewhere where it made sense to give Left Behind some PLFs,
Mm-hmm.
for its Fathom event. And Kevin Sorbo obviously didn't earn those. He's gonna have to lower his quote, but that movie probably got a couple of PLFs that Megan never got.
So Puss in Boots: The Last Wish,
Yeah.
140,
Yeah.
made 10.4 this weekend, a drop
Wow.
of only 11.
Amazing.
So this thing is just chugging along.
Hmm.
I mean, people are excited. It's getting. Did you hear about Eddie Murphy throwing some shade at Puss in Boots?
I did not. What did
So
Eddie Murphy say?
it wasn't real shade. He was just being playful. He said
Okay.
he wants to do a donkey movie because if something like Puss in Boots can do well, I'm paraphrasing, of course.
Yeah, 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 of
He's
course.
like, I mean, Puss in Boots isn't Donkey, isn't even a main character in the Shrek movies.
No,
So I want to do a Donkey movie. So this movie is inspiring Eddie Murphy to get back in the booth.
I mean, that has got to be music to DreamWorks ears right now.
Absolutely.
And he is right,
Mm-hmm.
because a movie just called Donkey,
Mm-hmm.
starring Eddie Murphy, opens, I would say, to $75 million plus.
75 million
Donkey,
dollars.
Donkey, yes, yes. That character, he is right. That character was huge,
No Shrek.
huge.
No Shrek in it. Just Donkey. And you
Just
think it's
Donkey.
$75 million.
I think it could do it. I think Donkey could do 75 million.
Wow. Well, listen, I mean, I'm sure that the people over at Universal are very excited at the prospect of that movie, even if it doesn't open at $75 million.
I mean, no matter what, you got to get this next Shrek movie into production ASAP. And listen, of course, the ideal world is you get Eddie, you get Mike Myers, you get Cameron Diaz, get them all into the booth on different days. They don't all need to be there at the same time. And you get that next Shrek movie going. But I think you got to have a Puss in Boots cameo. Give him a victory lap in the
Oh,
next Shrek movie.
100%. Now, I have to say, me and you are on separate pages as to how big this movie is going to be, whether it is a Greatest Showman run or not. But where we both were on the same page
Mm-hmm.
and on a different page than pretty much everybody else who was reporting on this film,
Mm-hmm.
we knew this thing was going to be a grower.
Yes. Yes.
We
We
knew it
called
was a
this
grower, not a
earlier.
shower. We knew that when it opened,
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of factors that were keeping families away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Snowstorm, Avatar coming out,
Right.
all these different factors that we knew would eventually go away or
Mm-hmm.
dissipate in order
Mm-hmm.
for people to find this movie. And so I think we are vindicated that this movie has done what it has done, and we always believed in it.
This is a movie that opened at 12 million It is now 6 weeks in. It has never had a single digit weekend.
Nope.
That to open at 12 million and then in weekend 6 make 10.4 million. That is Clayton. We are not supposed. I agree. You can't just throw Greatest Showman around, and people have done that. But this is a Greatest Showman situation. You have to listen to the playgrounds. They are chanting it. They're yelling at you, Clayton. You got to call this a Greatest Showman situation. They're playing hopscotch. They're playing tiddlywinks. You know, they're playing tag. They're playing manhunt. If they're kids in Brooklyn, they're playing manhunt. And they are saying, Clayton of the BO Boys, you gotta give this Greatest Showman status to Puss in
Pat,
Boots: The Last Wish.
ask me in $30 million. Ask me in 30 million and I'll give you the answer.
So it needs to make another $30 million?
It needs to make as much as Greatest Showman, yeah.
And then okay. I will ask you that in $30 million. And I do like the idea that time should be measured in box office dollars. I think that is just something that maybe more people should adopt, is instead of saying, see you in a week, see you, my birthday is in a month and a half. It should be, talk to me in $7 million at the box office.
Yeah. Or if you want to disclose how much money you make, you can say, I'll see you in this amount of time, which is this amount of your salary.
Oh, okay. I like it just being in box office dollars.
Okay, we can do that too. I mean, on this show, definitely we will measure time in box office.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, listen, Greatest Showman got to, what is this, 174 million, and this Puss in Boots is up to 140. But I mean, it's going to happen. I think this is a movie that has a shot against a 200 at this point.
I'd love if it hit 200. It just has to stay off the cock. The puss has to stay off the cock.
Puss has to stay off the cock. You cannot put this movie on the streaming service, Peacock. It'll hurt box office numbers. Keep the puss off the cock.
Okay, now let's talk about Avatar.
Okay.
Let's look at the charts.
We're going to the charts.
We're going to the charts. All-time domestic. It is just beat Star Wars episode, whatever that is, The Last Jedi.
That one.
Yeah. Has beat it. It is now number 11 all-time domestic.
Wow. With
620.8 million. It is right underneath the Avengers.
Wow.
It needs a little less than $3 million to beat it, so it will do it.
It'll do it by the end of this week.
By the end of this week. So it's going to be top 10 for sure. And internationally, it's 2.1 billion. I mean, worldwide, of course, worldwide. And so let's look at that chart.
So yeah, while you look that up, I mean, I'm just looking up at the domestic all-time list. I mean, like we've been saying for a while now, it looks like it'll nestle next to Titanic because it'll pass Avengers in the next couple of days. By the end of the week, it'll make that 3 million to pass Avengers. And then Jurassic World is at 652 domestic. Avatar Way of Waters at 620. So it needs 33 million to get past Jurassic World. That's probably going to take 2 more weeks at this point. I think it needs 2 weekends, maybe a third. And then at that point, it'll pass Jurassic World and it'll only be 7 more million to pass Titanic. So it'll probably pass that too. But then that's probably it. That'll be as high as it could go. I think we both agree. But it should be able to pass both, pass Avengers, Jurassic World, and Titanic. And then that'll be where it ends.
Worldwide, it is at number 4.
Okay.
Right under Titanic.
Wow.
Which is at 2.2. So, Avatar: The Way of Water, Titanic, Avengers Endgame, and the original Avatar, that is your top 4.
Wow.
3 of those are
Wow.
Jim Cameron.
Wow. Wowie, wow, wow.
And so it looks like it's going to could possibly pass Titanic, but if anything, it's gonna be either 3 or 4. I don't see it beating Endgame 2.7. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
won't beat the original Avatar, but
No.
it beat The Force Awakens. At, so listen, no Star Wars movies above the Avatar movies.
Yep. Yep. It's incredible.
Yeah,
He did it again.
did it again, and he'll do it again with the third one. And we're gonna be sitting here in what, 2 years?
2 years, December
And it's going to start out
2024.
slow again, and everybody's
Yep.
going to say, "Well, maybe he lost it this time.
Dot.
He can't do it a third. He can't do it a third time."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Duh.
Mm-hmm. They'll say that.
They'll say exactly that.
They'll say that.
I'm quoting the future right now.
Yes. Yes. And the future happens in approximately $80 million domestic from now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Avatar. So here's the thing. We're going to talk about this on our preview episode. Just a little tease.
Oh yeah.
Will Knock at
Mm-hmm.
the Cabin Door beat Avatar at number one? Will that
Yeah.
happen?
We will be
It's not
talking about
assured.
that.
It is not assured.
It's not assured, but we are going to make firm predictions on our next episode, our weekend preview episode. And we are currently scheduled, listen, anything could happen between now and, I think 3 or 4 million domestic from now. That's our time measurement. But anything can happen between now and the recording. But we are currently scheduled to have from Exhibitor Relations Co. Jeff Bach joining us on our next episode to talk this upcoming weekend. And listen, we're going to be talking further into the future with him. We always go off when we
Yes,
have
this
Jeff
is going
Bach
to be
on.
our beginning of the year preview. It's been late, but there hasn't been a lot of big movies coming out.
Yeah, I think what we're planning to do with Jeff is to do a overview of from now until the start of the summer season.
Yes.
That's the plan. So the next couple of box office months coming up.
Yeah.
So right now, Jeff Bach scheduled to be on our next episode. That's going to be huge. But Clayton, I think we've done everything we need to do on this episode.
We definitely did it. Pat, where can they find us? There's so many places.
I mean, email us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. We love getting your emails. We love boots on the ground reporting like we got from Eric. So email us at theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Rate and review on Apple Podcasts. That's the most important podcast platform. So give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a written review. We'll read it on air. But the most important thing, those 5 stars. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We're on YouTube right now. So if you watch us on YouTube, we're pointing down. That's where you find your subscribe buttons, your like buttons. Smash
Click that bell.
Click that bell. Smash that like button. Double smash the subscribe button. Actually, don't double smash it because then the first smash would subscribe you.
Yeah.
The second smash would unsubscribe you. So just do a single smash.
We'll only smash in odd numbers.
Yeah, so you could smash this once or 3 times. Yeah, because then the third one will resubscribe. Anyway, just smash
Or
those
5
buttons.
times.
Yeah, smash
7
those
times.
buttons on YouTube. And of course, follow us on social media, specifically Twitter, at the BO Boys Pod. Wannabe intern Christopher, killing it with the video clips, the audiograms on there. Lots of great content if you follow us on Twitter. And Wannabe intern Christopher, we just filmed and recorded his brainchild. A very special episode of the BO Boys is coming to the feed in the next. It's coming. He's working on it in the lab. We filmed it. He's editing it. It's going to be spectacular. So you could always get more news about the BO Boys on Twitter at the BO Boys Pod. Clayton, that's all I got.
That's all we need.
Yeah.
Except for until next time. will
will
smell
smell you
you
at